short video played about the procedures of this hybrid meeting.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Yeah. We'll have Vice Chairperson Nancy Cassandra read additional information on internet access and telephone.
Internet access. To view the meeting and provide oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in an email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raised hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. Upon request, your Zoom video or similar on-camera option will be enabled to allow you to be visible to the board members and other meeting participants while presenting the oral testimony. Please turn off your camera after you conclude your testimony. It is the individual's testifier's responsibility to ensure that they have the video and internet capabilities to successfully stream or remotely testify. The board maintains the authority to remove and block individuals who willfully disrupt or compromise the conduct of the meeting. For phone access, if you do not get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you'll be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering the asterisk key and then the number 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering asterisk and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing asterisk and then the number 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter asterisk and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. This information will be provided on the board's website. Instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings may be found online at the board's website as well.
Thank you, Nancy. So I'll be taking roll call now. For those of you on Zoom, like John, if you can answer that you're present and alone at roll call time. Evan Katayama here. Clayton Payne here. Howard Lau here. Ryan Fujiwara here. Jonathan Lucas. Jonathan on. John Takitani.
I'm here and alone.
Thank you. Jay Ishibashi here. Janet Primiano. Not here. Nancy Cassandra.
Here.
Joe Kurokawa.
Here.
Alan Inaba.
Here.
Alyssa Carson.
Here.
Tony Lau is excused. Seeing we have a quorum, I'll call the meeting to order at 10:10 a.m. As a reminder for the board members, since this is a hybrid meeting, if you can state your name each time before speaking. Now on to agenda item number 2. Chapter 91 HRS adjudicatory matters. We will go into a recess to discuss these matters.
Well, at this time, I'm gonna ask.
Ready
to move in.
And at this time, I would ask our colleagues to leave the room. For now, the board is gonna discuss this and we'll come and grab you after.
Okay, the board now reconvenes to its chapter 92 HRS meeting at 10:51 a.m. For the benefit of the public in a judicatory session, after due consideration of the information received by both parties, the board has accepted the hearing officer's recommended order as the board's final order in the matter of land surveyor's license Alan Hiranaka, GBA Hiranaka Surveying and Mapping, LLC, for case number PNG 2022-21L, PNG 2022-22L, and ENG 2022-32L. Moving on to agenda item number 3, new business. The NCES had an annual meeting in August 19th to the 22nd, 2025. Myself, Clayton Peng, Howard Lau, and Janet Premiano all represented the board, Hawaii board, at the annual meeting in New Orleans. Is there any public testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. This is Johnny. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
I know we have Howard and Tony's and Janet's written testimony, your written reports here. Do you want to summarize anything, Howard?
Well, you folks can read it at your leisure, but I just wanted to bring up a few takeaways from a number of the meetings that I attended. One of them was using AI in structural engineering, and the big takeaway is that there's a big risk of engineers becoming overly dependent on AI, and that could erode critical thinking and problem-solving skills. That's the big takeaway, and there's other things here. One of the other discussions was on the SEA exam. And I spoke up vocally on that matter because there was one issue that was really bothering me, and I think I brought it up after the Western Zone meeting. And that's the fact that, you know, out of 60 test items, only 40 counted. 20 of them, well, a third of the exam did not even count toward the scoring of the exam. And I asked what were the amount of pilot tests. Well, what these pilot problems that they throw in there is only to help develop future exam problems, and so they throw that in there. And I asked them, what about all the other disciplines, electrical, mechanical, and the number of pilot problems only limited to like 8 or 10 or 10, maybe 10% of the problems. But for structure, it was like 33% of the problems were pilot problems. And I just said that was outrageous. And what came out of that was, okay, in the 2026 exam that's coming up, they're going to be giving them an extra hour. 2027, they're going to cut it back. There's only going to be 48, and then there's only going to be 8 pilot tests. So it's back to a proportion that's proportional to all the other exam that's being offered, and not so high. And I asked them, well, why is this so high? And their reason was that, well, this new CBT for structural exams is so new. We don't have what do you call it? A backlog of problems that we can offer. So we need to build up that backlog. We also discussed, all the issues that happened during the past exam. So that's in so we talked about that. Yeah, I don't want to go through 2 minutes. One of the big issues is this portability of structural engineers. to cross borders from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And right now, the biggest issue for structural engineers is the fact that there's a number of jurisdictions that require that you get a PE before you can take your SE. And the argument that's being made by a lot of the jurisdictions is that that P exam is just simply a watered down version of the true SE exam. So if you already passed the SE exam, why do you need the PE exam when it's just a simplified SE exam? So I think in time it'll turn around and it will be able to get. That's my personal feeling, that we will get reciprocity among all the other states. Well, right now the issue is 5 states. I think California, Washington, and Guam. Those are the key ones that are restricting us because they require the PE before the SE. But I think, you know, we get to meet the other jurisdictions, and Guam seems to feel that, you know, they like the Hawaii model, so they in time revert to the Hawaii model. You got anything else to add?
Other than the next Western Zone meeting is in Bend, Oregon, and the next annual meeting will be in Henderson, Nevada. Okay,
Las Vegas, right? Yeah. Close enough.
it's Henderson.
Henderson.
So agenda item number 3B. Council for Landscape Architecture Action, Architectural Registration Boards. Board members Nancy Cassandra and Joel Kurokawa representing the board at the annual CLAR meeting in Lexington, Kentucky, from September 15th to the 20th.
I think Joel submitted the report.
Actually, I haven't submitted a report. I want to make a clarification, though. My attendance at the CLARB meeting was not in representing the Hawaii board. I was attending as CLARB president, and Nancy was really in attendance representing the state board. And so the cost for my attending there is paid for directly by CLARB, not through the state membership dues to CLARB. So just a clarification there. But I can give a verbal summary of the board meeting. The theme of the CLARB annual meeting was Global Insights, Local Impacts. And so CLARB has been doing a lot of work beyond its traditional borders, which is primarily North America, which includes 5 provinces in Canada, Puerto Rico, as well as the territory of the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas Islands, are all members of CLARB, which means they pay dues. They use the landscape architect registration exam to register and license their landscape architects. And so this year, the focus has really been on developing relationships beyond our traditional borders. CLARB became a corporate member, the first corporate member of the International Federation of Landscape Architects, which is a world organization chartered under UNESCO. I won't go into the history, but it's been around for a long time. There are currently 80 some odd member countries. So the typical members of IFLA are member countries, which are represented by a national association within their country of landscape architects. So one national association, there's only one delegate per country. So recently, IFLA started allowing corporate members. So CLARB is its first one. The reason why CLARB has become a member is that CLARB's mission has focused to include basically expanding the landscape architecture community globally. 60% of countries that are members of IFLA do not have any regulatory framework or structure for the licensing of landscape architecture professionals, although they are practicing in those countries. They're just not recognized by their government. And so there's a lot of interest and the resources that CLARB and experiences that CLARB provides in the experiences of having to get regulation of landscape architect, recognition of landscape architects in the United States and North America alone was a very long kind of challenge, which I think in 2010 or so, all 50 states, I think Colorado was the last state. And then I think a few years later, the District of Columbia finally also got licensing of landscape architects as well. So we had Davey, anyway, the NCWES CEO there, as well as the past president. We had NCARB president attend the meeting. So we've been doing a lot of collaboration at CLARB to, basically develop strong relationships. And I have to say that the relationships are very strong. One of the things that CLARB was involved with is as part of ICOR, which is the Interorganizational Council of Regulation, is putting together a document basically providing guidance on the practice overlaps between architects, engineers, landscape architects, and what is acceptable overlap and what is not acceptable overlap. And they will be putting this out very shortly. I think they're in the final stages of refining, and you'll soon be seeing that published and be basically provided to all of the licensing jurisdictions as a guidance document. And it's going to be a living document. It's going to be looked at. They're going to be expecting probably a lot of feedback and comments on that. One of the keynote speakers at the annual meeting was Indra Pers. He's a Latvian landscape architect and the committee chair of the Professional Practice and Policy Committee out of IFLA, who is kind of doing a lot of work on developing regulations. Not only they recently received recognition of landscape architects in Latvia, but she's also working within IFLA to help other countries as well develop the regulatory framework. IFLA is also working toward an IFLA certification where countries that do not have any recognition, they can still go through a review process and is trying to establish a standard at IFLA, which is actually based on something CLARB has been working on. It's called the Uniform Standard, which is on our agenda. Something very similar to that, but allowing landscape architects in countries that don't have recognition to get a certification through IFLA as a form of establishing a standard that can be evaluated by countries that do have recognition and a standard to be able to look at potential mutual agreements or mobility between countries. So, we're learning from NCWES and some of the other NCARB in looking at these kind of mobility models that go beyond, national boundaries. So anyway, Nancy, you can add there are other things that were discussed, climate change and things like that. But those for me were the most important kind of takeaways.
It was, just wanted to add just one thing about AI, because Tony's thing about AI is, yes, in landscape architecture, we're looking at as a tool. There was a presentation by a university professor and a proponent of AI from Utah, but he's actually based in Southern California as well. And he did show some pretty interesting videos about AI in the construction industry. And they had a construction site, the backhoe excavator on site was the most impressive to me, where the mechanics that AI can do in robotics on construction sites, where the backhoe was able to dig out and excavate and then visually analyze the rock sizes and the material and quantify the mass of things that were being excavated, and then actually place the boulders back in a uniform manner, forming essentially, a wall by the size and the masses of the boulders that were excavated. So, and for it to be, on site and structurally sound. So that was pretty fascinating. How AI and robotics would change some of the way construction sites could operate in the future. But so there was one presentation of that as well. And the people that spoke from the different countries was very interesting to understand laws and how the profession could be regulated. There was not only Latvia, but Mexico, Australia, the Philippines. Who else? So it was a lot of people contributed thoughts on what the licensing and what the professions were in various countries. So it was interesting. Very rewarding experience.
I had a question, two-part question. Do you folks have representation from Guam, CNMI, Puerto Rico in CLARB? And then the next part is, if so, do you folks have any problem with getting reciprocity?
They are represented. Puerto Rico in the past has been there. They were not present at this meeting. Neither was the Commonwealth of Marianas Islands was not represented, but they have sent folks in the past. Interestingly, they were represented at IFLA. They attended the IFLA conference, but they did not attend.
The bigger question, do you folks have a problem with getting reciprocity with those jurisdictions?
No, well, so because jurisdictions are, licensed at, well, for them, it's their Commonwealth, right? But that's a jurisdiction. So in Hawaii, we would still they would still have to abide by, if they want reciprocity, is the Hawaii requirement. So until we can get, so we would still be reviewing education and the LARE is the same exam. And, so it's really that three-legged stool, education, the exam, and experience, right? Those three components make up those requirements. In Hawaii, we also we have the Hawaii section. There are about, I can't remember, 5 or 6 jurisdictions that have additional exams across the CLARB community in there. What you're going to be hearing in this meeting is our proposal for a uniform standard for Hawaii, which is something that CLARB created with ASLA and the Council of Educators and Landscape Architects. And so that will help, I think, with reciprocity.
And then your mutual recognition agreements with other countries. But also we had a huge disagreement among structural engineers, because there was one with England, and a number of states, demo jurisdictions signed on, but a lot of the Western states did not. And it has to do with the fact that their structural exam has no seismic at all. And so we just said we cannot sign on because they just don't test for seismic, and we need to know that
So that's something that, yeah, so if the exam in Hawaii for structural requires that, right? It's the same thing in Hawaii, you know, we have a Hawaii
So
exam.
you don't have similar issues.
Well, right now we have a MOU with the Philippines. And they have a system, regulatory system, very similar to what we have here in the United States. And so we're evaluating it for equivalency. And so I think there's some gaps on the exam. Right now, they're both sides. Clark formed with the Philippines, a technical working group made up of some Philippine landscape architects and some even architects from Clark, and the law is almost identical. The exam, you know, so right now the exam is what we're looking at. Your experience is very similar component, and so it's really the exam that we're looking at. There are a lot of similarities and crossover, and but there are some gaps. And so, but if we can overcome those gaps, you know, and they, you know, so somewhat, we're looking at that as a kind of a model right now. So we have one project there. We're gonna be working with the, I'm gonna say we as Clark, entered into an MOU with IFLA Africa. And only one country in Africa has regulatory structure, which is South Africa. None of the other countries there have it, although several are working toward it. Nigeria, Kenya, and Morocco, they're working toward that. They have active national associations they're working toward, but they've actually have asked Clark and their members, the IFLA Africa members, voted to move forward with Clark helping them establish our registrar in that. And they would be developing a, you know, some way of assessing competency in those. And again, those will be used as pilots on there.
Okay. Agenda item number 4, ongoing business. So this is in regards to the report from the landscape architecture licensure requirements of the permitted interaction group, or PIG. The board voted to establish this PIG on its August 14, 2025 meeting pursuant to HRS 92-2.5. This meeting, the second meeting, the PIG will provide a report to the board. Public testimony will be. So I thought on this one, we can't provide comments either. So that's one.
So you will ask for, so the PIG will do the report, ask for public testimony, no discussion. The next meeting will be board discussion.
So board will discuss and vote at the third agendized meeting. Johnny, is there any public testimony for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Okay. You or Joe?
I don't know, do you want to start? Want me to
Go
start?
ahead.
This was the packet that was distributed, and you can read through it in detail. But basically, I'll go over just a few points, and Joel, you can add after they give you the outline of it. So I'm just going to read the purpose. The permitted action group was formed to compare and evaluate the CLARB uniform standard for landscape architect licensing versus current Hawaii landscape architecture licensing requirements, and to provide recommendation to the ESLA board for its consideration of adopting the uniform standard for licensing of landscape architects in the state. So there's a background that gives you some history of the research that went into developing these uniform standards. And then there's also a comparison sheet, but really we talked a little bit about benefits and adoption, but really the heart of the matter into understanding. Oops. is to understand the table will give you the comparison of what the CLARB requirements are or uniform standard is in relationship to the Hawaii current licensing standards. And basically, they're not that much different. However, there's two areas that are considerable and could be viewed as a benefit to Hawaii. And one is that the CLARB uniform standard will recognize a 2-year associate degree as counting towards education to getting licensing. So it's 6 years of experience. Currently, Hawaii does not. And currently, Hawaii does not have an undergraduate landscape architecture accredited program either. So educational programs are pretty limited within our state. We just recently got a master's program started at the University of Hawaii for landscape architecture that was accredited in 2021. So having more options for education, I think would be a benefit. The other pathway to licensing that's a considerable difference is by not having education. Currently, Hawaii requires 12 years of experience, whereas CLARB has reduced it to 8 years experience. So even though we say that this 12 years experience is no education, here in Hawaii, being that we're kind of isolated and unique, we do have people that working in the landscape industry who have a degree from Japan or Brazil, and Hawaii does not recognize those as education. So they are on that pathway of 12 years of experience. And and I would say that, you know, alleviating that to 8 years would be a benefit to those people who qualify that way. So those were the two main differences that I found. And then on the last page is a map that will show you states and the process of adopting the uniform standards. Now we know it's 2022, so it is fairly recent, but there are states across the country that are adopting them and in the process of adopting them. And in the discussion section, we have some clarification of why and how it's starting to progress. So that's the basic part of the report. I don't know, Joel, do you want to give the history of how far through the research?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to clarify that the uniform standard still will require that passing the LARE. And then what it does is just kind of make the experience requirements uniform across all of the jurisdictions. So while it is still not a national license, it is making it simpler for, or not simpler, but easier for reciprocity when you move around. And it's very common that landscape architects will be working in multiple states. And so it alleviates a lot of the confusion by applicants wanting to work in one state or another state from where they originally got licensed. And so, which is one of the reasons why the uniform standard is being promoted and advocated for. The other one is that the uniform standard came about because of the rise in attacks against regulation, not just of landscape architecture licensing, but other professions. I think even engineering and architecture, and so ARPOL was formed. I think you folks know what ARPOL is, but ARPOL includes the architects, the engineers, landscape architects, as well as the accountants, if I'm not mistaken. But it was to really create a united front against the anti-regulatory movement, right? And you have some very powerful libertarian organizations that have come out, putting out white papers, sending them to various jurisdictional authorities, to generate, I think friction within those states to try to deregulate. And so there are various philosophical differences, but I think there's a reason why we have licensure in protecting public health, safety, welfare, right? Common sense regulation. But anyway, that was sort of the impetus of CLARB working with the ASLA as well as the educators to come up with the uniform standard, which is based on an 8-year kind of system. Right now, the states are all over the place in terms of education, you know, and the pathway. Some states only allow accredited programs, you know, so if you don't have an accredited degree, you can never get licensed in that state. And so, you know, they wanted to expand the pathways to licensure to address those that cannot get a traditional accredited degree. So that's, you know, one of the reasons, you know, that the uniform standard is doing that. So that, you know, that's sort of the background of it. Some of you may remember that the uniform standard was presented soon after CLARB's members, which Hawaii is a member of CLARB, voted to approve the uniform standard back in, I think, April of 2022. And I think it was at the June board meeting of that year that the uniform standard was presented, and the board approved it in principle because it requires legislative change the law, because our law includes all the detailed requirements in licensure. So that's where the uniform standard kind of looked at. So it's not very different than what we have today, but it does provide an additional pathway, and then it reduces the no education pathway from 12 years to 8 years, as Nancy said.
What's that, Nancy? I know it's a lot of gray.
Yeah,
Shouldn't
because
the West Coast be more like green at least?
well, California is going to be really difficult for California to just because of the way they're structured. They are, the landscape architecture license is a technical group under any.
It's a technical committee that's separate from the government agencies. So they operate themselves. So when you pay your licensing fees to California, you are paying the landscape architecture licensing technical committee. They're responsible for all the fees and operating. They have their own officers. They don't have RICO or anything that
They
they
do it all
rely upon.
themselves.
So they're not an agency board. So, or actually, it's not a board, it's a committee. So they're not part of the government agency itself.
But they're licensed.
But they're
Thing is,
licensed.
they're
And you get
licensed
your
through-
California
yeah.
state licensed. through your-
Yeah, so that's one of the problems that we have, that it's all over, the laws are all over the place. How it's regulated is all over the place, and it creates a lot of problems in reality for real working landscape architects trying to do work in various jurisdictions.
Well, and then they're large. Within the state of California itself has 5 different chapters of ASLA, whereas most states only have 1. So you can see how particular each part of the state is.
So I just want to add one thing is that this doesn't change the fact that, you know, the applicant still has to pass that Hawaii state plant materials, and some other states have their own requirements, right?
Yes, so
That's why on the chart page there, it's just saying that, you know, the Hawaii state section is still required, and that we recommend the experience still be under a licensed landscape architect. So that's on that first part.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Johnny, do you have any additional public testimony?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, agenda item number 5, applications. Is there a motion to go into executive session in accordance to HRS 92-4 and 92.5A1 or to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for licensure and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Board will vote in open session. Is there a motion?
Move it to
Alan.
executive session.
Second,
A second.
any nays, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
But is there any public testimony on this agenda item number 5?
Chair, we have a raised hand from Connor.
That's our applicant.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, hello. Can you guys all hear me?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, so I'm Connor Kagamita. I am an engineer at RM Tower Corporation. And when I looked at the ratifications and recommendations list, I saw that my name was grouped with the people that never took the NCES PE exam. And I wanted to verify that because I took my PE exam on the California board and I passed it, and I sent the exam verification once on May 28th and once on October 7th. So I just wanted to verify whether you guys received the exam history.
Hi Connor, this is Eli here. I'm looking into that right now. I believe you are in that section where it says exam, only because you're. Forgive me just a moment, I'm gonna find something. Ah, yes, because we did get the verification of both exams being passed. This is just the pathway that your application was moved through was the exam pathway. But because we had both exams verified, you're still going to get licensed. You're not gonna have to take the exam again. Is that your question?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I just never got any like verification email or like change on my PVL account. So I just wanted to get that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. That's coming soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hey, it was into executive session, Courtney?
On camera, just like.
Oh. We continue with the identification list. As per the agenda, okay. So welcome back to open session. We're on agenda item number 5A, ratification list. Are there any public testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ratification list?
This is Brian, I make a motion to approve the ratification list.
Second,
You know, a second.
have a second. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda number 5B, recommendations from the application review committee attached to the agenda. Is there any public testimony on this agenda item, John?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendations of the application review committee as attached?
So moved, Howard Lau, structured.
Second,
Melissa Carson, second.
so second, any nays, recusals, or abstentions? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda item number 5C, Engineer Clarence McAllister. Your motion for his application.
Motion to defer, Howard Lau.
I would motion to defer, second.
Second.
Kurokawa, second. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda item number 5D, Architects, Tien Nguyen. Is there a motion for his application?
There is a motion for his application. So I make a motion that pursuant to Hawaii law, HRS 436B-1913, and based on the previous disciplinary actions, the board will conditionally grant your license upon the completion of 16 continuing education units, all health, safety, and welfare as required by Hawaii guidelines. The credits can be dated from the date of your application, January 2025, and submitted before April 30th, 2026. The same CE units may not be used for your next renewal period. Please submit your CE certificates before April 30th, 2026 to the ESLA board by email or the mailing address, which is on the beginning of the agenda. Make a motion, second.
Second. Second, Brian Fujiwara. All, any nays, recusals, or abstention? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any questions? I think, so I won't get the license until after I complete the CEs.
If you have it all now,
Already.
license tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So whenever you have it completed, you can submit it either by email, the email is listed in the agenda, easily emails, or you can mail it in. Drop it off.
I do recommend email. That will be faster for you. Okay, so email comes straight to me.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 6, Executive Officers Report.
Okay, Donnie. I will keep it brief. A couple of items. We have the first one, item A. We had a correspondence from our partners with the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying, NCEES. They just wanted to bring our attention to a couple of bills that are being considered on Hawaii County. Bill number 64 would eliminate the requirement that the Director of Public Works be a licensed professional engineer. And Bill 72 would eliminate the engineering degree requirement for the Director of Environmental Management. Those directors oversee roads, bridges, wastewater, solid waste, and public facilities, systems that directly affect every resident. So there's a talking point sheet that I included in the packet for you too, if you want to read completely. Yes.
She's gonna, okay, comment on this. Bill 64, yesterday.
It
There was council, yesterday, bill to pass by a 5-3 vote.
But since it passed, I don't know if you, since it passed, it's goes to the vote of the public.
Oh, so now
I was,
I
that's what it mentioned in the other,
don't get.
other board meeting, I mean, other
It was
common
a
council.
second amendment, Dennis Nishi made an amendment. Just before. I know my son went to testify in the issues.
Well, I thought because it's a county council charter, it had to be,
I'm not sure on that.
voted.
I never do the question, I'm not sure about the public. You got the phone? Those are the
Well,
bill.
I was listening on
You want
my,
that?
not this past one, but the previous. Where, what did I, something Beck testified in person.
Oh,
He was the only person to testify.
did you only testify yesterday?
Well, I don't know, I didn't see
Oh, yeah,
yesterday.
you're talking about yesterday. Several, all this thing.
You said it failed.
Actually,
Passed.
Bill 64 yesterday.
yeah, we didn't pass. Oh, yeah. Because the previous one, I guess, in committee, they voted 5-3 to advance it to
Yeah,
the.
so that didn't pass the council general.
64 didn't, what about 72?
We have people that.
64.
About 72 though.
Bill 64 did not pass.
Trying to do that. They tried several times.
So agenda item number 6B. And carbon.
NCARB reached out to us and provided a report of Hawaii's jurisdictional data, including demographic representation, licensure progress, and exam pass rates from the 2024 year. I'm not going to go through all the details that we provided, just as an FYI for you all. There's that.
Look at that. Do we have any information on engineers? I
Oh,
was asking.
correct.
Data.
I can get back to you.
Okay, our next meeting will be December 11th, 10 a.m. here. Is that the right date? Okay. So we finally adjourned, 12:42. Oh, Tony better,